everyone, and welcome to Asian Viewpoints with Mary Sitt. My guest today has 30 years' experience in the TV news industry. Shern-Min Chow recently retired from KHOU TV in Houston and immediately started her own media company called Smart Media Content, offering full video production services and script writing. And she's just penned her first novel called If Not You, based and inspired on a true epic love story. Shern-Min, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Mary. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You have been one busy lady. You barely retired and you've got all these things. You started your production company and you wrote a novel. Now, you didn't just start that novel since retirement. Did it happen years ago? You started
Oh,
on and off?
right. No, no. I worked on this for years, weekends and nights after work, and I timed, if you will, tried to time the publication of the book with my retirement from daily news. So it kind of came out about the time I stepped away from daily news, but oh, it's been many years in the making.
So, what inspired you to do this story? Did you actually meet this woman in real life? And okay, tell me about how you met her. And did you meet her during your regular reporting and did some sort of news report? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. No. So what happened in this case was my sons actually were interns in her lab at MD Anderson. She's a cancer researcher. And they would come home. My oldest, went through first and just came home with these amazing stories about their lab director. And I really thought that and as a fellow journalist, you would know that, you put a little discount to a story because
Right,
each time it gets retold, it's like the fish that got away got bigger and
right.
bigger, right? Um, and so finally we got a chance to meet her, invited her and her daughter to dinner, and just asked her, will you tell me your story? Because my kids have told me bits and pieces and it seems, amazing. So she said, sure. And we sat down to dinner and she gave us her story from like start to finish, or at least the bullet points.
Hmm.
And I was stunned because it was true, all of it, and so much more that
Hmm.
my boys did not know or did not tell me. And at the end of dinner, I said, man, your life is like a book. And my son said, and mom, you should write it. So it is inspired by her story. It's pretty true. We've changed the names and
Right.
some of the dates and the locations and some other things to protect her identity. Um, and you'll hear from her at the very end. She has written a note to the reader at the back of the book.
Why did you decide to make this a work of fiction instead of a biography?
Really to protect her identity. We talked a lot
Okay.
about this, and I left it up to her. I said, you choose. Which way do you want to do it? And honestly, she went back and forth quite a bit. And in the end, she and her family decided to go for the route, where her name was protected. I think part of it is, she's still working at MD Anderson,
Right,
and, she doesn't want to, make any waves with anybody there.
right.
Uh, and she's a very humble, very quiet, private person. She has no Facebook, no TikTok, no Instagram, no nothing. That's not her
Right.
world. You know, she's she is busy trying to find a way to cure and treat cancer. So, she doesn't want all these other distractions.
So the main character in your book, Nyla, is a beautiful, smart girl from a poor family. She overcomes one crisis after another. And I mean, your book just drew me in. I had to keep going to the next chapter, because I want to know what else is going to happen. Oh, please, may this not happen. And then
Yeah,
let this succeed.
something good. Let
Yeah,
something good.
because something keeps like dropping from the sky and these horrible things happen to her, but she has incredible grit. And that's the word I could think of. Just, I mean, so much courage and just, she would not give up even though she was in the worst of circumstances. And all that part, her character is true, right? Or did you enhance it for for the book to make it more dramatic?
Um, no, I will tell you that the book is more than 90% factual. I mean, accurate, I guess it would be the more correct way
Accurate.
to
Hmm.
put it. No, I didn't invent any of the trials that she went through. All of those are quite real. So she was burned in a terrible fire. She The doctors did tell her family, don't bother coming to the hospital. Just make arrangements to transport her body back home.
Mm.
That was all completely true. And they simply were waiting for her to die. And she jokes today. She goes, and I wouldn't die. It was so stubborn, so inconvenient for everybody. And in that hospital for the better part of a year recovering, which is
Wow.
when she meets this young boy. She's 18, he is 19.
And he
And
goes to the same school, the same college, right? Is that right? Yeah.
correct, correct. They had not met previously. He was, a year older, and he had simply come to the hospital, to see if she could use some help, being a good Samaritan.
Right.
And, uh, and then, only a few months passed, but they really develop a profound connection.
Mhm.
And because they are from different castes, they are not allowed to be together. And they make this promise to each other, which is if we cannot marry each other, we will marry no one else. And they
That's
honor
a
this.
pretty big promise.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
They honor this vow for the next 10 years of their lives. And all kinds of things, as you know, happen to them, happen to her during this period and beyond.
Mhm.
It's,
Why do you think that this forbidden love between the two of them endured so long and over two continents and so much time? What was it about it that just made it last? What do you think it was? I mean,
um,
they made this promise when they were young, 17, 18, right?
yeah. I think two things. I think they really loved each other. I
Mhm.
mean, like operatic, you
Mhm.
know, um, Odyssean love, right?
Right,
Like
right.
massive journey through tremendous trials. And I think it really is also a tale about character
Mhm.
because, they both, she in particular, is faced with a lot of terrible things
Mhm.
and a lot of choices. And each of us in our lives face these kind of turmoil and these, terrible situations and then the choice. And I'm going to be really honest. I don't know that I could have done what she did. I don't know that I could have made the hard, the moral, right, and good choices in every instance that she
Mhm.
did. But to me, it speaks to the character of this woman that she did
Right.
it. And she really does it without even debating long and hard about it. She just
Mhm.
knows this is the right thing to do.
And she was no pushover either. I mean, she defied tradition, she defied custom, even her parents and her mom, her uncles,
Family.
and they said, "We're not going to get married till we have your blessing," but we're not, and then they sort of demanded the blessing, and they just kept waiting it out, and they basically won.
Yeah,
The older generation caved in and said, "You know what? Times have changed. Let them get married."
yeah. I said, you know what? 10 years is a long time.
As a journalist for so many years, you told people stories. That's what you did for a living, and the more accurately you told it, the more, in a certain way you captured people's attention. Did all those skills come into play when you wrote this novel? Did you feel like you were, in a way, a journalist writing a story the way you always wrote stories for TV news?
Oh, absolutely. And I will say that all of that, TV news, journalism background, I think was, tremendously helpful, indispensable in the writing of this book, because the first drafts that went through were all as if it were a true biography. I mean, it
Hmm.
was written like a news reporter went through everything. And
Right.
then afterward, it was after all of that was sort of completed, kind of past the editorial, factual muster, all of that. Then I
Hmm.
went back in and started, crafting it more, if you will. Like, well, that's when we changed everybody's names, changed the
Right.
dates, changed some of the locations, that kind of thing.
Okay, so I have to tell you, this is your first novel.
Yeah.
I was impressed. I mean, it starts right out the bang and boom, it keeps going. And one thing I really liked is that you don't overwrite. Okay. A lot of times new writers they do all these, you know what I'm talking about, all these flowery adverbs and stuff and adjectives. And it's just like it's overwritten. You just You describe it very well because you feel like you're in that place and time and moment, but you don't overdo it.
That's one of the things that happens to our heroine is that her best friend dies in very mysterious circumstances, and she decides to investigate despite threats and everything else, from the university and others. But yeah, so like the whole morgue scene and the funeral pyres and everything, I mean, that was both looking at lots of videos and doing that research and then interviewing, the persons that were actually there, the young man who identified the body and walked
Yeah.
into that morgue. He was very gracious. I did a big, long Zoom interview with him, and
Wow.
he's the one that, gave that first-hand account description to everything.
But this woman went through a lot. What does she tell you when you say, "How did you do it? What was it within you that helped you get through all this?"
Yeah, she'll say that she didn't even think about it. It wasn't like trying to imagine the big picture or the big question. It was just every day you got up and you pushed forward. And I do think that's probably true for a lot of people
Hmm.
who survive and overcome, terrible situations. If you will, it's almost like a don't overthink it. You
Hmm.
just put one foot in front of the other and you keep moving forward because you can't move back.
Yeah.
You can't stop and you can't give up. Um, and so that's what she says. I think she even makes a note of that in the note in at the end of the book. And if
Okay.
for those who get the audio version, she records that herself. So you
Okay.
hear her voice, and she will be reading that passage, that note to the reader about why she chose to do this and kind of what her mindset was,
Hmm.
what pushed her forward. And I also record, I've written a note to the reader as well at the end of the book, which I don't think you got a chance to see.
Okay.
Also, I recorded that in my own voice. And that was, a way to sort of share with the readers the backstory, kind of our hopes and,
Hmm.
if you will, for the book and why we've put so much energy and time and love into it.
Well, Sherman, thank you so much for the interview, and thank you for talking about your new book, If Not You. And people can buy it on Amazon or just in bookstores also, right?
Amazon only right now, and I'll
Okay.
have book signings, if you search for it on the internet or
Okay.
on my website, SMC Medias, you'll find it. But yeah, but so if I may, hardback, paperback, Kindle, ebook, as you did, or an audiobook, which I think turned out really, really nicely. Wonderful actress who did the voice work there.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so
Wonderful book. I loved it. If you enjoyed this interview, please click the like button below and be sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.